You had it. There we go. Okay, welcome. We'll bring the Athletic and Wellness Subcommittee to order. Welcome, Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
You too. Yeah, just want to thank you guys for having me here tonight. Before I get started, this is the first one we've had this year, so want to thank you for the opportunity. Sitting up here by myself this year, so riding solo, but it's been going good. Pretty different from what I'm used to, but it's been well. So. Just wanted to touch base, obviously, to go through our fall and our winter season thus far. Threw on some highlights for you guys in the bullet-pointed packet. Start with Quincy High. For the fall season, had about the same participation as what we're used to. Had a little over 250 student athletes participating across the board. Biggest increase, we probably saw a little bit more football players this year, which was good. Had 13 Patriot League All-Stars and 5 Patriot Ledger All-Scholastic selections, which in the packet you'll see at the back the graphic for those, for who was named. Girls volleyball over at Quincy High was probably our most successful team this fall, qualified for the state tournament. MIA is in their second year with doing the entire statewide tournament. So it's not just a sectional tournament. This includes the entire state. So they're in Division I. They were defeated in the first round, but obviously a pretty good accomplishment to make the state tournament. And then we also had a junior over at Quincy High on the Q&Q cross-country team that qualified for the statewide championship meet for cross-country. Included the records for you guys as well for you just to have reference to see how our sports did over at Quincy High. For North Quincy High, definitely saw an increase, a slight increase across the board, mainly in the sports of boys and girls soccer. They were able to have 3 levels this year, which was nice to see. Had a little bit more than 260 student athletes participating across the board. 13 Patriot League All-Stars, one of which was named an MVP in the Fisher Division girls volleyball player, Jennifer Lee, over at North Quincy. And we had 5 Patriot Ledger All-Scholastic selections. Jen Lee was also selected as a Boston Globe All-Scholastic, which is a great honor for her. The girls volleyball team won the Fisher Division title of the Patriot League. Their one loss came against Duxbury, so they didn't win the whole entire league across the board, but had a very successful season, going 19-1, qualifying for the state tournament, and advancing all the way to the round of 8. So very successful season for Coach Plaskovitis and the girls. Very proud of them. We also had a junior over at North Quincy qualify for the same cross-country Division I state championship meet in Aluna Coogan Coin for Q&Q cross-country. Put the records there as well for North Quincy in the fall. Overall, pretty solid fall, transitioning, in the position and things of that nature, but everything seemed to go pretty smooth with the coaches and things of that nature. So a little bit of a transition to the winter. Season starts right after Thanksgiving, and at this point, we're pretty much wrapped up except for our tournament teams and a couple of individuals competing at the statewide level. So for the winter season, Quincy High, little over 185 students across the 10 sports that we have. Biggest decrease for us this year was actually in boys hockey. We had about 20 seniors graduate from last year's team, so that was the main reason for that decrease in participation, but it's kind of a topic right now that we're discussing as the youth numbers aren't actually, they're pretty low right now across the board in hockey. More in like the current 8th grades and current 7th grade group coming up. So more discussion on that as we move forward, but it could potentially be talking about a combined Q and Q down the line. So that was the biggest, participation piece for us at Quincy High. But we've had 11 Patriot Ledger All-Stars selected. They've just finished up those meetings the last couple of days. One of our girls basketball players at Quincy High was named the MVP of the Fisher Division, Alyssa Hops, and our boys hockey player was named co-MVP of the Fisher Division in Will Martin. Girls basketball has had a great season at Quincy High, going 16-4. They won the Patriot League Fisher Division and have qualified for the state tournament. They play tonight and against Doherty Memorial in a prelim game at home, and then hopefully they win and advance to the next round. So excited for them. Coach Conlon's done a really good job getting the program back to where it should be at. So, and then as I said, we've had a lot of individual student athlete performance at the state level, which is awesome. We've had a couple kids at Quincy High, boy and a girl, competing at the swim meet at the Division I level. Two of our boys wrestlers for Q&Q team wrestled at the state level, and we had two female wrestlers actually compete at the all-state level as well. So it's really, really fun to see that. This was the first year that they actually went to the tournament. So the girls that participate in wrestling, very few, but it was pretty a cool feat to see them participate. So and then I put the final records there for Quincy High, and then over at North Quincy High School, saw an increase in participation from last year. So we had a little over 200 students. Biggest increase was in the tracks. We had more kids come out for track. We still Q and Q, but a lot of our North Quincy kids came over for indoor track and then ski as well. So we have Q and Q ski this was our first year as a varsity sport. A lot of North Quincy kids participate, and we did it as a club last year. Took off a little bit, and now we're recognized as MIA sport, and everything went really well this year. The biggest thing was they just didn't get a lot of snow, so that was it. They just couldn't participate too much, but did some trips up to New Hampshire and things of that nature, and really positive feedback so far for that program. So we had 15 Patriot League All-Stars selected over at North. The boys basketball team had the Fisher Division MVP in Zach Taylor, and we had the MVP in swimming as well for boys swimming in Kenny Guan. Boys basketball has had a really good season over there as well at North. They won the Patriot League title outright with the best record in the league, and they've qualified for the state tournament as well. They're Division II. They're the 11th seed. They'll have a home game on Friday night. And the boys hockey team also qualified Division III in the state tournament as well as the 21 seed. Record is not the best, but that's how things go now in the MIA with the whole statewide tournament. It's all based on power rankings. So they were able to qualify. So they play tomorrow away up at Songus. So and then a lot of competitive student athletes individually at the state level as well. So had 3 boys and 1 girl participate at the swim meet, and 7 of our girls competed at the indoor track meet. With our girls relay team, the 4x800 advanced to the all-state, where they placed second in the state. So one runner from Quincy High, 3 from North Quincy High. They qualified for New England's. So New England's is going to be this weekend coming up. So pretty impressive. Obviously, second overall in the whole state was awesome to see for them. And then same thing, we had our first female skier participate today at the MIA Alpine Ski Championships up in New Hampshire. So, and then the final records there as well for North for the winter season. Any question, feedback for fall and winter?
Mrs. Lieber? No, no.
Kevin, welcome back. A couple comments and a couple questions. First of all, I love these presentations where you talk about the successes of the teams and the successes of the athletes. And I used to appreciate back in the day when some of them would have the ability to come in here. But I just want to say congratulations to all of those teams that made us proud, all of those athletes that represent our city, whether it's from North or from Quincy. Super impressive, that they do. And I enjoy having you walk through the litany from both schools. So I want to say that from the outset. Two questions. One was, I'm a little concerned about the hockey numbers. And your process before a decision is made, if something as consequential as merging happens, in terms of parental engagement, talking to Quincy Youth Hockey, how all of that will go and what the timeline is.
Sure. Yeah, so we've kind of already started to look at the youth numbers. So the head coach at North, Matt Gibbons, is still connected to the youth program. We've reached out to some parents of those 8th and 7th grade teams just to try to see what the numbers look like coming up. It's very, very minimal, like almost like 4 to 5 kids going to each school out of those teams that are participating. The process would be if we decide that that's the next step to take is to combine the teams. It would start by going to the league ADs, and the league would vote on if they would allow us to combine. So I would have to present to the league, the other 11 schools in the league, that, hey, these are our numbers, this is what the outlook looks like over the next few years, and then request a co-op waiver of like 1 to 2 years.
I mean, do you send a message out to the Quincy and North Quincy parents, collectively, all of them, saying we're concerned about this, and these are the numbers, and this is where we are. We'd like to have your input. To
see if
maybe
they would be
we're
on
not
board,
hearing.
right.
Maybe there's a chorus of people that are interested that we're not aware of. But in the absence of that, we need to make decisions, and this would be the timetable.
Yeah, we can definitely do that for sure. Just to get even just feedback to see the parental piece in terms of if they'd be on board with that too. Obviously it's a big rivalry game, and that would go away.
Those games, the Quincy North games, just classic. Everybody goes there. It's really
exactly.
Good. And then my last question is, how overwhelmed are you managing everything right now, and how can we be supportive in your role?
No, it's been going. It's been a lot, but it's been good. We obviously appreciate the support. We were able to I have 2 assistants now, so one at Quincy, one at North, and also I think another huge step that we took was getting our full-time athletic trainers on board as in a full-time position. I think we went through it kind of in the fall over at North, not having a trainer on staff. Kind of jumped through hoops to make sure we had coverage for every football game and every event that we could. But now that we have them on staff, they're just an added bonus for us, I think. And it's obviously a very important job at the high school level, I think. So.
How many teams total in both high schools?
Across the board?
Yeah.
Close to like 25 sports.
25 sports in each school. So.
Yep. Yeah, offer the same ones.
And
at
just
each
managing all those calendars and schedules and needs and coaches. It's a big job.
Yeah.
So
Let's go.
thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you. It's great to have you on board as the athletic director, and there's one person in charge. And from all the feedback I'm getting from people who have to work with you, said it's been a seamless transition. That you're accountable, you're on time, you're reliable. I mean, you check all the boxes. So you've had a great start. So just kudos to you for that, because I know it's a difficult job. We haven't had a full-time athletic director in how long, Superintendent? Do you know?
Well, we ended up breaking up into 2 when athletic director Rendell left. So that must be, I don't know how many years has that been now.
Good amount, yeah.
8 years, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
8 or 9
8
years.
to 10 years, yeah.
closing in on 10.
Well, I know it's a difficult job. How many combined teams do we have, Kevin? Both schools?
So we have Q and Q. In the fall, we have Q and Q cross country. The winter is a good amount. Q and Q girls hockey, where we also have 8th graders play as well, just because of the numbers.
What? Sorry.
Girls hockey.
Sorry.
Q and Q swimming, both boys and girls. Q and Q track. Q and Q wrestling for the winter, and then the spring Q and Q outdoor track. Q and Q girls golf, and Q and Q boys lacrosse. So fair amount.
And skiing too.
Oh, and ski. Yep. Q and Q ski. Yep.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I know that we have great numbers in the track program, the youth track
Yes.
program. And I've said before, it doesn't translate to the high schools, and I'm wondering why.
Yeah.
Do you have
So
any sense as to, I know you've only been
yeah.
the head guy for 3 or 4 months, but
So the track's actually one that could potentially end up splitting up based on the numbers, because we're probably right on the border of being able to split.
Okay.
The winter's a little bit like right on that level, but the spring they go up, and this is the waivers for the co-ops running 2-year cycles. This is the last of the 2-year, so we would have to reapply for all of our co-ops across the board. Spring track is one that potentially could get voted down based on our numbers. Yeah.
really, okay. Well, that's good news.
Right. Yeah. It's good to see. Last year we had a big increase that the rest of the league noticed. So when you're competitive, that's when people notice. So
Yeah. Where are our trainers from now? I mean, we were getting them from Peak before.
Yep.
Is that still our?
no. So we have independent contracts for both of them.
Both schools?
Yep. So Steve
Still at
still at Quincy, longtime trainer. Lucky to have him on board, and to keep him is awesome. And then Peak finished. Sam was the trainer last year. She left, so we just
She went to
did
Norwell.
everything.
She went to Norwell,
went
didn't
to
she?
Norwell.
Yeah.
She's no longer at Norwell, but she did go to
not?
Norwell. Nope.
Okay.
But yeah, so Brendan Gano, North Quincy grad, is the trainer at North now. So he was working at a similar to a Peak Marathon Sports, I think it was, and outsourced to Mansfield High. But now he's just independent with us.
Okay.
So
And just I know that you're going to get to this with number 3, but do you feel like you're adequately funded in terms of all the teams that we have to support? There are 50 teams, essentially, in terms of getting them equipment and uniforms and officials.
yeah, I think we're in good shape. Yeah, we've never really had an issue. The biggest issue is this year wasn't budgetary. It was just the production, the supply, like for football helmets and things of that nature. It's just everything was backed up. So we were doing everything we could. We saw an influx over at Quincy, had to kind of get creative with getting helmets in and stuff. But in terms of budget, we were okay.
Is this something you plan for in the spring? You anticipate
Yep.
your numbers to be at X? And
Yeah,
then
we usually look ahead to the in the spring to the following year to see, what sort of equipment we might need, especially football too. If we think, hey, this is where we're at, like right at the end of the season, the football stuff gets sent out, reconditioned, and then they'll produce us a report to see like how much stuff was rejected, so how much more we have to buy or whatnot. See, we can kind of plan based on how many incoming freshmen we might get or whatnot. So, yeah.
And just for our information, what's the cost of a helmet now?
No, it's like
one helmet.
It's like $450. It's pretty expensive. Yeah. So.
Need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need them.
It's a need.
Well, I used to play with no mask and stuff. But
That explains a lot.
That's what happened.
Explains a lot.
Mrs. Husey, do you have anything?
No, I'm just really, I'm thrilled that we have people that help you at each school. I assume they're working out well.
Yes.
But you're not housed up here. You're going back and forth to, and how do you work your schedule out?
Yeah, I
Once you're
usually
successful?
usually do 2 days at Quincy, 2 days at North, and then usually Friday I just based on like the home game. Like during football season, it was, hey, if North's home tonight, I'll go to North so we can do tickets and get everything set up for the game. During hoop season, just kind of pick what game I thought was going to be the biggest attendance or whatnot, so I could be there for that. But so I've just been kind of splitting time to go at each one, and then obviously if like meetings and whatnot pop up, then
Are you
I
the
gotta be at that one.
administrator at those games? Or
Yep.
are the site manager? Are you the site
yeah,
administrator?
yeah. If I'm there, yep, and then
You are.
if we, yep, and then the assistants were at every game regardless. So if I was at Quincy, then Mr. Gould was taking care of North.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Got it.
Great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, so, Mr. Mahoney, thank you so much. It's great to hear about all of this. I just had a question about the coaches.
Sure.
So how many of our coaches work for us during the day, would you say?
Good question.
I'd say it's a pretty high percentage of them. Yeah, majority of them are in either high school or at least in QPS. I will say. Yeah, in
That's
Q-
what I meant
yeah,
in QPS.
Yeah. Have some. Obviously, we do have some external candidates and external coaches, but majority of them we try to get in house.
And do the coaches report to the principals or to you? Who supervises the coaches?
Supervision for me, yes, but obviously,
Ownership from them?
yeah. Obviously, I loop in both Principal Ford and Principal Gilbert on pretty much everything. So.
Okay. One of the things I'd like to have on an agenda, if we can do one more meeting this year, is I would like to hear about the orientation that the coaches get and the development that they get, especially the external candidates. I guess all of them.
Yeah.
I know that I've had conversations with Mr. Mulvey about how this is going on, but we've never really heard it presented to us. So I
Okay.
think we'd like to see exactly how they're onboarded.
Okay.
And, I mean, you read a lot of stuff in the paper and you hear a lot of stuff in the news about other places where they're having problems with their coaches, and I just think sometimes the coaches are not
Sure.
developed,
Mhm.
Especially if they're not used to working in public schools with
Right.
kids. So I just would like, if
Sure.
we could get that on the agenda at some point in time. I'm not sure if this is the agenda it belongs on, but wherever you think,
We can.
before the school year's out.
Sure.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So with the hockey issue and the sports that you're having a hard time recruiting students for, is that, is that a league issue, or is it something that we're seeing just here?
So, yeah, in most of the sports that are co-op, I will say it's probably like a across the board issue. Like girls hockey, especially, like almost every team in the state is a co-op. It seems like, anyways. Wrestling, similar boat. I've seen a lot of co-op teams. Hockey, I don't necessarily think that it's a state issue. So I'm not. That's why I was kind of confused too as to why the numbers were so low.
Yeah.
It might just be the specific age group that they have, because I think right now, like, it's further down the line, but like the 5th grade, 6th grade group, they tell me that it's a big class. So the current freshmen that came up, each school only got a handful of kids, and then the 8th graders and 7th graders, the numbers are still low too. So it could just be
Just about the
Yeah.
Quincy Youth Hockey
Right, yeah.
feeder.
Yep.
Um,
The feeder. Yep.
I mean, I can understand like the track, the track teams, the fall
Yeah.
and having big numbers, because
Yep.
I think for kids, it's less intimidating. They don't think they really have to have a specific skill set. They can jump in and
Oh, yeah.
maybe learn and compete.
Mhm.
But I think that maybe a lot of kids are intimidated about maybe joining the basketball team or being on another sport
Yep.
where it's a team sport. Is there anything that we can do to encourage kids when they're coming in like the 9th grade, who maybe, don't have a basketball, I'm using
Yeah.
basketball,
Yeah.
but have a basketball background. And hockey's a little bit different because you
Yeah,
have
hockey.
to have all the, the equipment and everything. But, finding a way that we can communicate to kids in the 8th grade before they come into high school, like about the opportunities that they have for sports and
Yep.
try to encourage them. I mean, probably already do that, I would think. But
Yeah,
if we don't, but.
Yeah, we do we do like fly up days too, like where obviously the 8th grade open house where we have a presence at, and a lot of the kids come in the gym and they walk around the gym. We have every table set up for all our different teams and things of that nature. But yeah, like the fly up days, we try to have the incoming 8th graders in, and I think it's like June that we have them come in, try to give them a rundown of everything we offer. A lot of the programs will do like some summer stuff and like fall stuff too in the off season. So if we know the kid is, an incoming 9th, they still get communicated that, hey, this, football is doing lifting in
Yeah.
July, so like get acclimated as before you even step foot in the building.
Yeah, I like that, get kids involved before they get here and
Yep.
before the season starts, so they can, get acclimated and see if it's something that they
That they
want
would
to
be
do, that they
interested.
never had
Yep.
experience with. A lot of kids have parents who get them into club sports and things like that, and they have experience. And then, I mean, from
Is
my
that-
perspective, it's when you're in high school and 9th grade and stuff, it's a way to get kids involved who maybe wouldn't have had an opportunity before.
Yep.
So, maybe finding a way to really try and encourage them. And if we do some of the summer stuff, that's part of the season anyway. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is it like the, when you have football, or is that just, it's run by the captains?
Yeah,
So
it's more-
kind of off-season.
It's more off-season stuff. It would be there's only so much you can do in the off-season. So like a lot of it would just be like conditioning or weightlifting, and then also like captain stuff, like where the team gets together and they might do some stuff on their own,
Yeah.
But
But it might be a way to kind of
yeah.
encourage kids
Yep.
to get involved.
Mhm.
But also have to have a little bit of supervision, right? So
Yes,
it doesn't
exactly,
go-
yeah.
It doesn't go crazy.
Yeah.
And I guess my other question is, just, we don't have to get into specifics, but just, I'd like to know a little bit how the locker rooms are kind of overseen, during seasons and, so the policies, procedures, who kind of keeps a look on the teams when they're in the locker rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, the expectation is the coaches should be supervising and monitoring the locker rooms, before and after practice, or games too. Usually, away games, they get off the bus and just get picked up. They don't go back in. But, we have, when football gets back, they got to take all their stuff off and go to the locker room. So even if it's Friday night at 9:30, 10 o'clock, like a coach should be there with them, and that's the expectation. I think you kind of run into a little bit of a, fuzzy area like right at that 2:30 time, because at that point you got, even the teacher that's in the building might be extra help with a kid or just making their way down to that area or whatnot. So, and then you got kids like just rushing in to get ready for practice and get onto a bus and get out. So, well, I mean, I know over at Quincy what we've done since we had the incident, we, like the security staff is kind of become a presence in that area where we have our locker room stored in the gym. So just that, I think it's just that initial window of right after the 2:30 bell. So
Maybe
like
in
how do
both-
we,
In both high schools around that time, we should
right.
have someone, kind of there to keep an eye on what's
Yeah.
happening in the
But
locker
anything,
rooms.
yeah.
you know.
Once the coach is on site, that the expectation is
They're
that they're
controlled.
monitoring and supervising. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's good. Anyone else?
Just
Mr. Begoli?
Okay, good.
Mr. Guttrow?
No, just one last question. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but does the girls' hockey team pull up 8th graders to play? And if so, is that something under consideration at the boys' level?
The girls do, yes. Yep. We could potentially look at it. Not that it's the only foreseeable issue I could see would be where the girls are co-opt, so it's not like it's just one team. So now like an 8th grader what team do they
Oh,
play
really?
for. Like, so, like if one school has like, hey, we can support their own team, but the kid lives down in Squantum, he's probably going to go to North as a ninth grader, but but Quincy's numbers are low. Would he skate for them as an eighth grader? So that's the only that would be my only.
Okay, just keep
But-
it under
Sure.
consideration.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was actually one of my questions. I know that the girls have done that in the past.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if there was an opportunity for the boys to do that. How big an impact is juniors having on hockey?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at Quincy, we lost he went to prep, not juniors, but I think it's somewhat of an impact. I don't know how much in Quincy. I've seen only a handful of kids leave. But I think there's been some kids in the youth level that will decide to go private instead of
Right.
us.
Right.
That's where I think that's where the coaches see it more, I think, than the juniors. But we did lose one of our better players at
I was gonna
Quincy.
say, those
to-
are your
to
best
prep.
players.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yep.
So those are the ones that carry it forward for 4 years.
Right.
And I also want to put on the next school committee agenda, Superintendent, the purchasing of apparel by companies that we use. And well, whether we can monitor that and steer it in a different direction.
Okay.
And
Mrs.
just,
Weaver?
I just have can you clarify, because I'm not sure what you guys were talking about when you talked about, you said.
Oh, juniors?
It's almost like AAU, but they take kids and they take them out of the city, basically, right?
Yeah.
And they go play
Elsewhere.
elsewhere, like
Yeah.
out
Oh,
of,
so it's a club, it's like a
they don't
elevator
even
club
live at
team?
home anymore.
They don't live at home?
They'll go to like Michigan or
Yeah.
someplace.
They go like out of state and
The ninth grade?
big time hockey. Yeah.
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 I mean, some of our kids are good enough. And unfortunately, you don't have that opportunity to get those kids, and it hurts the program, hurts the system.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we going to get on to the next two items?
Sure.
Yep.
So yeah, just following along with the agenda. Spring overview at this point. Season starts in a couple weeks. March 20th is the first date of spring sports. I threw the sports offered on there quite a bit in the spring. At this point, registration's underway and kids registering to play and paperwork of that nature. Schedules already pretty much set up at this point. And then just work with the Quincy Parks Department for all the sports that play outdoors. So at this point, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what's coming up, which is pretty soon for our spring sports. So and then middle school. At this point, we've had tennis, cross country, volleyball, and wrestling are all completed at this point. Swimming is ongoing right now with the swimming championship coming up in the beginning, the first Saturday in April, and then in the spring we have the outdoor track participation for middle school. And they had me also include the what they pay for user fees at the middle school level for that. So we do, for most of these at the middle school level, we do, it's like a 5 to 6 week program at each middle school. Usually each site will handle how they take care of practices. Like some schools do, 2 or 3 days a week or whatnot. And then for like cross country, track, and cross country and track, they'll do a couple meets, and then they'll do a citywide championship meet. Tennis, we do a citywide tournament in the fall, and then volleyball citywide bracket tournament as well, and then wrestling. We did a citywide tournament, so it's usually how we cap it off for those, and the kids get trophies, ribbons, things like that. So it's been pretty productive from my standpoint, anyways, since being involved with them. Just sports that not necessarily there's much youth involvement, I guess, in the city. So a lot of these sports, as we kind of mentioned before, is like introductory for a lot of the middle school kids to see if they'd be interested in joining it. So a lot of them do the track in the spring. I'm sure most of you guys have seen that before, but Faxon gets pretty crazy on those days. So with the 5 middle schools, but yeah, so that was just an overview anyways, just to give you guys an overview of our middle school program and athletics. Guess any questions for either one of those before we get to the last point?
Mrs. Hughley?
Actually, not really a question, actually through you two. I'd like to put on the budget and finance, if we could review the middle school athletic fees, if we could put that in our budget and finance subcommittee. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
Mrs. Bergoli?
Just a question on the stipends that are paid to the middle school coaches.
Yes.
How do they compare to the high school coaches?
Um,
Are they close? Because their season isn't as long.
No.
And they don't have as many practices, and they don't have as many contests,
Yeah.
meets. So, can you kind of give me a ballpark as
Yeah.
to what their stipend is?
be similar to well, certain positions like tennis. I think tennis and swim are only like roughly $500 stipend. The other, like cross country, volleyball, wrestling, and track, where you're going to get a lot more kids, would be comparable to like a freshman coach stipend at the high school level.
Really?
Roughly 2,300,
For 5 weeks?
5-6 weeks, yeah.
And what's the high school season run?
A lot longer.
A lot longer, right? Probably at least twice as long, maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem like it's fair to the high school coaches. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. It's something I've always had a problem with. Back when I coached in the dark ages, we got $300 for a 12-game season in the junior high school league for basketball. You didn't do it for the money, obviously, but
Right.
that was our stipend. So where it's gone to, it just amazes me.
Yeah.
As compared to the high school coach, who sometimes is asked to go out and scout and do all sorts of other
Yeah.
things. So, just wanted to make an inquiry and to
Okay.
make people aware that maybe some we should look at.
Mr. Guttrow? Do you have anything? You good?
I'm good.
Okay, great. Next.
All right. So yeah, just I think this was a topic that got brought up last year at one of the subcommittees. So we wanted to put it on just to kind of tie it up, I guess. So the topic, I guess, would be if helmets in the sport of girls lacrosse, if there's anything at the state level or things of that nature. So I've looked into it a little bit. There is no MIA regulations or rules or policies pertaining to it. I talked to somebody the other day that's on the committee. He said that it's never really been discussed. The individual he's an AD at another school. He's a lacrosse person as well. So I guess there is something that like almost like a hybrid helmet that's out there, but it's not like a lot of that. Very rarely will somebody wear them. The only time they would wear them is if they had like a brain injury or if like they needed to have protection. Obviously, it is it's a contact sport, and there is obviously the risk of getting hurt with the stick and the ball. But it hasn't hasn't really ever been brought up at the MI level. But then also to reference the any past injuries. So I had Steve, our trainer at Quincy, just was able to dig up since because he's been there for a while. That's just a rundown of girls lacrosse players at Quincy that that he's had to address with a head injury that potentially also got diagnosed as a concussion. So the last few years, we've been lucky. We haven't had any injuries to the head or concussions related to lacrosse. So I don't know. I just thought I'd put that on there as well. But obviously the boys they wear everything from arm and chest protectors and things of that nature and helmets, but the girls they just have to wear goggles and that's it. They do there's certain rules to the game, I guess, that is obviously different than the boys. So there's I think there's one rule, like it's called like shooting space. So if like somebody's in a certain distance from you, then the whistle gets blown. I feel like the whistle does get blown quite often in the game for stoppages and things of that nature. But obviously open to discussion and whatnot. But that's kind of what I dove into.
Anyone?
I'm still concerned about it.
Well, they do say that when you wear helmets, that you play more aggressively and more, it's more of a chance that you will get hurt than when you don't have helmets. I mean, that's something that I've seen. I don't know if that's accurate, but Mrs. Hubler.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I mean, if there was a parent or a girl on the team that chose to want to wear a helmet, they would not be told no, they could not wear a helmet.
I don't think so. I think it would. I could look into it at like the MI level as well. But at least from my initial discussion with this, like I think if they had to, they could. I don't know how much, like if they could cover the complete face or whatnot, but maybe there is these hybrid ones that might connect to the goggles and protect in some fashion, where if they requested it, we could obviously move to the next level to see if the state would allow it and make sure that it's okay that, hey, this one particular student might be different than the other ones on the field.
Because I would hate for that to be like a parent or a student who wanted to play,
Right.
but that was a concern that they had, that they didn't want to play without having one.
Right.
That this would be, to alleviate that fear.
Right.
Thank you.
I just had one other thing on that.
Bergoli.
I just think the MIA is leaving themselves wide open. And I think as a committee, I don't know if we should, if we discuss it further, and if it's amenable to everybody, that we just suggest that we are in favor of looking at helmets for girls lacrosse. I don't know how other people feel about that, but I feel strongly about it. It just takes one ball to hit the kid in the temple.
Isn't that the MIAA's?
Yeah, it's
Decision
not,
to-
it's
to-
not his responsibility.
No, it's not Kevin's, but I
No.
mean, doesn't
That's what
all
I'm saying.
girl, there isn't any girls' teams in the league that are in the
In the
state that wears helmets, correct?
No.
No, there isn't, but my point is, they should be. That's the way I feel. If it was my daughter playing, she wouldn't play unless she was wearing a helmet.
To
Mrs.
that
Hubley.
point, if I might, could we survey the parents that have children on the lacrosse team that might want to?
On that, before we do that, I think we should have Mr. Mahoney check with MIAA and say, would it be all right if we had girls who are wearing helmets
Yeah,
before we surveyed the parents?
Exactly, yeah.
Anyone else?
No.
We're good. We all set? Okay, we're good. Thank
All right.
you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
Conclude this meeting. Have to do this.
And then I'll do it. Now call the Teaching and Learning Subcommittee meeting. To order. And with your permission, Mr. Superintendent, I'll turn it over to Mr. Field.
Thank you.
I think I'm allergic to this room. I don't have a car. I only come in here and I smell coffee.
What are you allergic
I have this room. 1 second. the other microphones or something.
We just need a minute for Laura. She's got to get a charger. Laura Owens.
Just going to pause for a moment, folks. No,
We're going to
we're going
wait.
to pause.
Okay.
Just pause for a minute, we're just waiting for something. Sorry, my mistake. I'll call you back in a second.
You want us to step out?
No. We're just waiting for technical stuff.
Okay.
I'll plug it in. I'll have to do. I'll just be careful.
You good? Okay.
Okay, great.
Now it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm really pleased to be here tonight to talk about Quincy Public Schools' approach to social emotional learning. And I have some real champions here with me tonight. They have really taken a lead alongside their principals to ensure the wellness and well-being of our students. I'm so proud of the work that they're doing. Really outstanding presenters here with us tonight. I also want to acknowledge everybody in this room that has made social emotional learning a priority without the support of the school committee. I know this was a high priority for you, the superintendent, Mr. Mulvey, and assistant superintendent, Erin Perkins, and the principals. Everybody has really been on board to make things happen in this area, and it's an important area for us. You know, we are doing our best to prepare kids to face the many challenges that face them. We want them to be resilient, we want them to be competent, compassionate, and we are doing our best to infuse SEL, as you'll see, throughout the district. The presentation tonight will highlight the district's progress in making SEL accessible to the school community. SEL is a term you hear a lot. We use our working definition, so we're going to talk about that working definition through CASEL. We also are going to explain the importance of SEL and the areas of competencies that we want our students to realize through this skill building. And that will be presented, you know, through a district lens and also through the elementary, middle, and high school lens. Research shows, you know, the benefits of social emotional learning, and the research has a lot of evidence demonstrating that education that promotes SEL yields positive results for students, adults, and school communities. SEL has a powerful combination of evidence and support. The findings come from multiple fields and sources and include analysis of hundreds of studies that show SEL leads to benefits and outcomes related to social and emotional skills, attitudes about self, school and civic engagement, social behaviors, conduct problems, emotional distress, and academic performance. Specifically, SEL improves attendance, decreases suspension rates, creates a sense of belonging, and promotes connections between students and adults. This updated CASEL definition and framework descriptions reflect SEL research, practice, and policy. We think it's a good working definition. It is as follows. Social and emotional learning, SEL, is an integral part of education and human development. SEL is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals. We really want kids to really feel and show empathy towards others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. There's a quote by Dr. Haley, who is the creator of Open Parachute, and that's the platform we'll be talking about tonight. And it says that well-being should be a right and not a privilege, and every student deserves to learn the skills that will help them reach their fullest potential. The interrelated areas of competence shown here are what we want students to achieve. They include self-awareness, and that's the ability to understand one's emotions, thoughts, and values and how they influence behavior across contexts. Self-management, one's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in different situations to achieve goals and aspirations. And relationship skills, to establish and maintain healthy, supportive relationships and effectively navigate settings with diverse individuals and groups. And finally, responsible decision-making, making caring and constructive choices about personal behavior and social interactions across diverse situations. We've created a district approach, and we have identified 5 domains: leadership and professional development, school-wide SEL, accessible curriculum, which you'll see is really important, relevant content, and student voice and belonging. So I'm going to go through the leadership and professional development. Leadership and professional development. So we found that this is really important to prepare educators and student support staff and principals to be responsive to SEL and mental health. And although SEL and mental health are not the same, SEL can promote positive outcomes around mental health in many ways. And it's done by promoting these positive and responsive relationships and the skill development. So those are really important things when you're trying to create these protective factors that buffer these risks related to mental health. And so we feel like it's really important to have this, kind of safety net of having these adults that will help students navigate these really kind of difficult things that come up day to day. And when we build competence in those areas and have educators ready to respond, we're a much better community for that. Implementing social and emotional learning in a school or district is a process. We've made the first step to achieve our vision for our district. We've set clear and measurable goals for SEL, and strong goals help us make strategic decisions about what actions need to take place each year and allow us to track progress for improvement. This year we're working on building foundational support and planning, strengthening adult SEL, promoting SEL for students, and reflecting on the data. SEL school-wide has many benefits. A strong culture is rooted in student belonging. With evidence that suggests that it plays a crucial role in student engagement, SEL offers an opportunity to enhance existing systems of support by integrating SEL goals and practices with universal, targeted, and academic and behavioral supports. So that's, when we say that, we're talking about the restorative practices, we're talking about PBIS, everything that we do to promote positive relationships within schools. By running Open Parachute, teachers get a chance to practice like fundamental mental health concepts alongside with their students, they're learning, and it takes away barriers to provide that mental health support in the classroom. We want to support educators in the implementation. So the accessible curriculum that I mentioned about the Open Parachute platform, that has really helped us be able to do that. So, educators feel more confident, they have the language, and they're practicing with their students. And we actually will show you a few videos of the actual Open Parachute lessons, and you'll be able to see that. So Open Parachute was a tool we were looking for to help us engage students about their thoughts and their feelings. It's peer-based learning approach, student engagement and discourse focused on the critical understanding of mental health concepts. Each lesson is based around a documentary video which showcases a student sharing their experiences of overcoming a struggle. Peer role modeling is clinically proven to help students, so that's why we are so excited about this program. Each lesson contains partner exercises, and so the students actually get to engage around the learning points around their own experiences. The other thing that it does, it provides moments for kids to journal about their feelings and their thoughts, and this is a really good tool for health around your mental health and wellness. So we're happy that we're showing them how to do that, and that's a useful thing for them to do, which they can do across their lifetime. So I don't think I introduced everybody. So Mairead Convey is from Marymount. She's a guidance counselor. She's outstanding, has really taken off with Open Parachute, supported her principal, Sue Connor-Shea, who's done a really nice job as well with the teachers, and everybody is really on board, and I think that's because of the excitement that Mairead brings to her position. We also have Connor Pound, who's a health educator at Central Middle School. It's his first year, and I made him present with us tonight because he's so outstanding. And I think his grandmother might be watching, so she should be very proud of Connor and his presentation tonight. We also have Amy Finley, who's a psychologist at Quincy High School, who does a beautiful job, and you're just going to see how connected she is to the students and the staff at Quincy High School, and the difference that she is making is really outstanding. So I am going to let Mairead start her presentation so she can share the elementary implementation. This is just a snapshot of the curriculum map that you see on the screen. We're going to talk about all those topics, but I just wanted to share that snapshot, and I've done that for each level. So you'll see it for middle school and high school as we move along. So now I'll turn it over to Mairead.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Can everybody hear me? Do I have to talk right into this?
That's good.
So thank you so much, Ms. Papil, for that lovely introduction. As Ms. Papil mentioned, I'm Mairead Convey. I'm the guidance counselor and the special ed teen chair at Marymount. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about all of these things that you see here. I'm going to focus on Open Parachute because it's a new program that we're kind of rolling out this year, and it's been really great, so I'm excited to talk about it. But I'm going to talk about PBIS, which I'm sure that you guys already know a little bit about because it's been in place for many years. But I'll talk about kind of what that looks like at Marymount a little bit. So we have social emotional learning curricula at all levels. Like I said, I'm going to focus on Open Parachute. And obviously, it's impossible for me to talk about all the wonderful things that all the guidance counselors in every elementary school are doing, along with the school psychologists and the administrators as well. So I'm just going to focus on a few things. So outside resources and professional development. So over the last 2 years, the last 2 school years, the guidance team and the admin team as well had the opportunity to participate in professional development related to restorative practices. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what that looks like at the elementary level as well. So that was a really great professional development program for us to be able to take and implement in our schools in the last couple of years. So obviously diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, that's something that I'm sure that you guys talk about all the time. I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like at Marymount, especially this year. Like I said, restorative practices, which, community building goes along with that. And I'll explain a little bit why when I get there. And then Open Parachute. So the PBIS initiatives that we have going on at Marymount this year. So we have a character trait focus of each month with theme lessons and activities. So as you can see on the bottom here, that's our 2022-2023 character traits of each month. So essentially what we do is we have a character trait of each month, and you can see in the sort of long picture in the middle, that's one of the activities that I did with a 4th grade class around the character trait of the month. So I will give the teachers at the start of each month a sheet that looks just like that with each character trait at the top. So it'll say like, I can be kind, or I can persevere, whatever their character trait of the month is. And that's a great way for either myself or Callie, who's our wonderful school psychologist, or the teachers to open up that conversation with the kids about, what does it mean to be a good citizen? What does it mean to be kind? There's a bunch of examples on the back of each sheet, and it really allows them to talk about it throughout the month in, in each classroom. And then at the end of every month, we have our monthly Good Citizen assemblies. So we have a spreadsheet that's kind of ongoing throughout the month. Every staff in the school, so not just teachers, but every staff member will choose a student that they feel exemplified the positive trait of the month. And at the end of each month, Ms. Shea Connor, our principal, and Mr. Rogan, our assistant principal, will get on and do an assembly. So it's kind of like a fun newscast that they do at the end of every month. And they'll go through every, and all the classes watch it from their classrooms. So they'll go through every student that won from each staff member. They'll get a shout out. They'll talk about, what the character trait means. They'll kind of wrap around back to what the kids have been talking about all month. And then they'll introduce the character trait for the following month. And then every student that wins the Good Citizen Award for the month, they'll get a gold token for our book vending machine. We have a great book vending machine that's downstairs. So they'll be able to pick a book from the book vending machine. So that's just, a way to enforce, reinforce the positive trait, and the kids get really excited about it. They love it. And then just to touch on the blue ticket winners, so every staff member has a bunch of blue tickets. They look like raffle tickets. And if they see a student doing something positive or exemplifying the trait of the month, they'll give them a blue ticket, or they'll give them several, depending on what the kid's doing. And the students will write their names on the back of them, and they'll all go into a big bucket in their classroom. And every Friday, each teacher will pick a ticket from the bucket. And whosever name is on the back of it, they get something from the prize cart. So we have this big stocked prize cart that the 5th graders will take around every Friday and let each student pick a prize from the prize cart. So that's sort of just the things that we do every day, every month. It's a constant conversation, and it's a really good way for the kids to feel like, they get some positive reinforcement, they understand what these traits mean, and they learn how to exemplify those traits every day. And then you can see this picture up at the corner. That's we'll take a picture of all the kids from each month that win the character trait. They get a certificate. So they really love that. It's very cute. All right, so I'm going to touch on restorative practices a little bit too before I get into open parachute and DEI. So the way that restorative practices look at the elementary level might look a little bit different at, with the older kids in high school. So what it looks like at Marymount is we really work on classroom community building. So the way that we do that is teachers will have circles, ongoing circles in their classrooms with their whole class. And they'll do it, once a week, once every other week, as often as they can. And this is really just to build those relationships. So you're building trust between, the kids, you're building trust between yourself and the kids. And those will be very low risk topics. So the circle topic will be, what's one fun thing you did over the weekend, or what's your favorite color, or what's your favorite holiday. Just ways to get to know each other so everyone can, participate if they want to, and practice those circle skills. So holding the talking piece, giving it to the person next to you, listening to listen, not listening to respond. So those are just some of the skills that they work on constantly with those community building circles. And like I said, they're very low risk, they're fun, they're easy to do. And then another piece of that is the classroom norm setting. So what that looks like at the elementary level is the students will gather around in a circle, and they'll have a class discussion, and they'll ask questions like, what do we want our classroom to look like? What do we need to feel safe and happy